what looks like trying for me on certain days probably doesn't look like trying at all from the outside, but they're probably the days that I'm trying the most.
Welcome to The Outsider Within, a space for honest conversations about the experience of being different. This is part 2 of my conversation with Chloe Wigan. In this part, we explore how Taylor Swift's This Is Me Trying became a powerful reflection of neurodivergence, self-worth, unseen effort, and learning to redefine what enough really means. Let's continue. On songs, is there a
Mhm.
song that's really made you feel seen or understood? A song you'd like to share today?
I have shared this with you that this is probably this would be the hardest question to possibly ask someone like me ever. And I feel like I probably have playlists of like hundreds of songs that make me feel understood or seen or support me in some way. But the one that I feel really drawn to at the moment is the song This Is Me Trying by Taylor Swift.
So, why is this song significant for you and why choose this one today?
Mhm. Okay, so the song's kind of a simple song from the terms of lyrics. It's a very relaxing and calming song for me. But when this song was released, I felt like it sort of put to words something that I don't think I had ever been able to in my life before. And I guess it's just because the idea of like this is me trying looks different for everybody. And I think from the outside, you don't know how hard things are for people. You don't know what they're experiencing. It can be very easy to look at people's lives and go, you should be doing more, you should be doing better, you should be more successful in this way. And I just think that, like, as someone who feels like I never lived up to the potential that others had for me, not necessarily myself, but this song hits me just in the right way. And I just feel like trying looks different for all of us in so many different ways. And also, this idea of like what looks like trying for me on certain days probably doesn't look like trying at all from the outside, but they're probably the days that I'm trying the most. So it's kind of like this idea that, like, I feel like this song sort of gives me hope that as long as I don't give up, as long as I always keep trying and I do what I can do, and sometimes that isn't a lot, that's enough. And it means I'm doing enough. And I think that's a really big thing for my neurodivergent journey is the idea of just letting myself feel like I'm doing enough, especially when I feel like I'm not, and also just knowing that I am enough as well. So for me, it's kind of like a song that's really comforting to me. And I think it helps me be a lot kinder to myself.
Perfect. I just felt such a tug on my heart too when you said the days that it doesn't like externally look like I'm trying, they're probably the days I'm trying the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time that you sort of heard the song and it really landed for you in this way?
I do remember the first time I heard it because folklore came out in the pandemic. So we like personally wasn't doing it much. So having like a new album of music to listen to was just the best. And interestingly enough, it's not the song off that album that's my favorite. I actually am my favorite song off that album is Exile. That's actually one of my all-time favorite songs ever. However, this is me trying has more of a like understanding. And what's really interesting about this is obviously first year of the pandemic, Exile was my favorite. And then coming out of it, This Is Me Trying was my favorite, which was actually the time that I was going through the neurodivergent journey. And I think that's just really interesting timing with what the song means to me and also my experiences of sort of unraveling what this looks like for me and also kind of being nice to myself and kinder to myself through the whole process, which is a big part of it as well. So I think it was more the way it made me feel during that time and during that year because it was a bit less than a year, maybe about 9 months of sort of unraveling this from the moment the doctor said to the actual diagnosis. So that would probably be when I found the most comfort in it.
Yeah, and just I'm just thinking about my diagnosis process too, which was a lot smoother than what yours was, but it still was very raw
Yeah.
and it just yeah, quite confronting as well in a
Hmm.
lot of ways, just having to recognize stuff that you didn't necessarily know was there that
Hmm.
made, there's meaning. But anyway, All good. Let's have a listen to your song.
This is me trying. They told me all of my cages were mental, and I ended up.
Just need a moment there. That's intense.
Yeah, take your time.
Tell me for you, how are you feeling with this?
Um, it's interesting. I kind of didn't really like when I chose the song, I didn't realize how sad it was gonna be. Like just listening it to with you here now in this moment, I listen to this song a lot, but I kind of just had the realization like this is a really sad song.
Yeah, I kind of saw, because I was watching as well, just the earnestness
Mhm.
and then the sadness and just, oh boy.
And
It's,
I think there's something really deeply powerful about this idea that not giving up is trying. Like just even a little bit and being like, I'm gonna keep going. Like that is the ultimate act of trying. And I think that's what really hits me about it because I don't know, it's one of those things that I feel like people who perhaps were good at school or who were called a high achiever, or if you were like me and when you were young, you were in all these like gifted programs at school, will probably relate to this song, especially like around that idea. There's a line that's like, I had the shiniest wheels, now they're rusting. And like, I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere. And some of those lyrics feel like that's that story, that pipeline. And there is a very common experience of people who were like that in school and then also have that experience of discovering they're neurodivergent and then also having that reckoning of like, okay, who am I without these gold stars? And how can I be okay with doing what I can do, even if I feel like it's not as good as perhaps it used to be or what people think it could be?
Mhm.
And just the idea that like it's enough.
It is, it is. I'm a little bit just still stuck on the line of, I was ahead of the curve and it became a sphere. To me, then
Hmm.
it just feels like you could go around in circles or you could just spiral down.
And I think for me, like I felt that way and the curve became a sphere and I fell off it. So my very first big experience of burnout ever was finishing high school, like year 12 and finishing high school. I crashed majorly for the first time in my life. And that kind of like, I took a gap year and a half and I did have a lot of people around me going, I thought you were going to uni and like you're going to become a psychologist. Like, what are you doing? But I kind of had to take that time. And I feel like I really relate to that as well because it's kind of a little bit more about other people's perception of your life and you.
Definitely. I can see that in there and just uh, that whole rich inner world
Mhm.
compared to what people are judging. Like you said at the beginning, like people may look like they've got that lovely shiny life, but
Mhm.
what's going on inside is so different.
And I think about like if there was one thing, I always feel misunderstood. So being misunderstood is a real thing for me. I don't feel like I'm always like people understand me, and it's like a real sticking point for me that I just can't get over it. I actually wish I could. But one of the things I feel like if I could honestly make everyone that ever encounters me believe one thing about me, it would be this like that I'm actually trying and that things are actually really hard for me in ways that people maybe probably don't think.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think there are so many things that, especially if you're late diagnosed, where you manage masking, but you create your own accommodations, their
Mm.
struggle isn't evident.
Hmm. And I've always been really good at this, and I didn't realize like I've always had systems and structures and organizational compensations that made it appear like I like was completely fine. And I always presented like I was completely fine. And I think there's a line in the song that says something like, they told me all of my cages were mental. So
Yes.
it's like that idea that people were like, oh, you're just creating these limitations for yourself and not having that sort of seen and understood that actually these were real challenges was experiencing.
Definitely. I wondered what trying means when no one sees the effort.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just having my own back fully. So on a day, trying might look like giving myself the day off and lying on the couch and like watching the Vampire Diaries. And that's trying that day. But also, what's trying is giving myself that space, knowing that the next day or the next week, I'm going to be back doing the things that I want to do or putting something out in my work and doing those things. And it's sort of actually riding the waves of those things because I've really learned that trying's not actually always like the exertion effort. Trying's also giving yourself that permission to sort of lay low and give yourself what you need so then you can do those things that you would like to do as well.
What I'm hearing there too is there's other people's perception of you trying
Mm.
is the external output,
Yeah.
whereas
And
it's
this is
not.
like a weird one, but in the song there's a line around like but I didn't pour the whiskey. And I'm not a drinker, but there's something about that part that sort of creates this story and I see this person and not taking the drink is the act of trying for them. And I think this like we probably have all our different versions of what that looks like for us of like what we do that's trying that people probably think, you're not even trying, but they don't know those little acts or big acts that you're doing that is actually trying.
Yeah, I when I heard that line, I just thought that's so powerful because it's like the crutch that you could go to
Yeah.
that you could then go down into that deep dark spiral
Hmm.
space and it's like, but I didn't do it. That
Yeah.
was me trying. That was huge. Like,
Hmm.
please just see that.
Yeah. And not getting acknowledged for those things can be really hard because I have noticed this that I think on my neurodivergent journey, I've started to really realize the ways in which I was sort of praised and conditioned to mask and to do things a certain way. And it's been really interesting that I feel like some of the things I'm doing now, like not working, giving myself permission to take those weeks, all kinds of things that sort of look like not trying actually are the most important and most powerful things I've done for myself, but they're not something that anyone ever says like, oh, you're doing such a good job by taking that time off and giving yourself what you need. And we're trying to rewrite this in our household as well. Just this idea of like, we have an environment and we want to create an environment here where you can do those things and you can give yourself what you need.
That's so perfect. We all need to take that on. We all need to rewrite those rules. And I think the conditioning is so strong.
Hmm.
And self care, self respect, knowing and learning your own boundaries is so important.
Hmm.
But nobody teaches that, encourages that. Like, you kind of just have to figure that out as you get older.
Yeah. And have your own back in it as well, because no one else is going to really do that part for you.
Powerful. So I know you've just touched on this as well, but how has this shaped your relationship with yourself?
Hmm. What part do you mean by that? Just so I'm clear.
Yeah, I guess the understanding the trying and the
Hmm.
effort and the external perceptions.
Hmm. I think it's been one of my biggest lessons is to just let myself do what I can do and let that be enough. As someone who was kind of, I don't want to use the word effortlessly, but sort of effortlessly like an A+ student and like did well at school, I have started like to be okay with like a pass grade is fine. Like, I don't need to put all this pressure on myself to make something perfect from the beginning. Otherwise, I'll never do it. So it's a really big act of self-kindness to be okay with what you can do and with your capacity and to let that be enough. And I think that's part of also practicing this idea that you are enough no matter what you do or don't get done.
That's so rich and so beautiful. Thank you. Have you got a favorite part?
I don't know. I feel like any part of the song is like resonant for me. But I guess like the end of the song is like I just wanted you to know that this is me trying, and it ends with at least I'm trying because what's the alternative basically? And I love that it ends there on that point.
It's really a powerful place, isn't it? And
Mm.
I think it's one of those almost like a cliffhanger in the way that you are still engaging even though the song stops.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, at least
It
I'm
stays with
trying.
you and it
Yeah.
stays with me when I listen to it as well.
Yeah.
I actually feel like it's quite a hopeful song, which might be a weird thing to say, but I find a lot of hope and comfort in it. Trying is the ultimate act of hope. Not giving up is the ultimate act of hope. And that's just like literally, if I was to sum up the song and why it's meaningful to me, it would be about that.
Yeah. Yep. So what do you think the lyrics reveal about the gap between how you're seen and what's actually happening internally?
I guess that it's kind of like, for me anyway, the song, like a lot of the folklore album is a storytelling song. So I think of this like story being told about this fictional person who's really trying and everyone around them thinks they're not even trying. And the ways in which they're trying aren't recognized and acknowledged, but they still keep showing up and trying. So it kind of creates this parallel. And it also helps me with other people because this idea that I don't know how hard things are for other people as well. And I think it makes me a bit more empathetic. So, as much as it's meaningful to me and makes me feel a bit understood, I also like to carry it in the way that I encounter other people as well, because I've always been quite aware of this idea that we don't know what's going on in people's worlds and their inner worlds just from what we can tell on the outside. So, I like to carry that with me as well.
I love that. For me, the equivalent was actually from a book that I read a long time ago that it said we're all souls having a human experience.
Mm.
And that just stopped me in my tracks. And I went, yeah, that's so true. And I think when I think about our modern society and how social media driven it is, and it's all about putting these photos and images and
Mhm.
putting this facade out there. I mean, it's the ultimate act of masking, really.
Mhm.
But just to go, well, we don't actually know what's happening
Yeah.
beneath the
And I think we
surface.
have the tendency to fill in those gaps for ourselves based on what we perceive and see from the outside. But I think this is a really good like opportunity to just remind yourself that there's so much more going on behind the scenes than you would ever know. And I grew up being a dancer. So I always have this analogy of like a theater environment and you're seeing like these dancers on stage being perfect and it looks effortless or whatever, but behind the stage is actually like, and I used to do a lot of dance classes. So I was often behind the stage doing these like crazy quick changes and like chugging water and trying to eat jelly beans because like it was a long performance or something like that. And that contrast between what you see on the outside and what's going on behind the scenes often are different things, but also like it is permission giving as well because like I think we see our own behind the scenes and think we're messy and imperfect, but we're not seeing behind the stage of anyone else. So it's just that reminder to give that same sort of like that dual perspective to others as you get for yourself.
Yeah. It's a little bit of grace, isn't it? Just to go, like to
Mhm.
be compassionate, but just to go, there could be an incredible amount of stuff that that person's going through, and they're perhaps even just holding it together to do
Yeah, and
this
you really
thing.
don't know what other people are experiencing or going through. And used to remind me, I worked in a supermarket as a teenager, and obviously I would encounter a lot of people in a day, and you would get the impression you would have different encounters with people, and some of them not so great. And I learned pretty quickly from starting this job that like it wasn't about me as the person there serving the customer, that like you don't know what's happened but just before they've walked into that supermarket or what bad news they're experiencing, or perhaps what's gone on in their life that day. And it was kind of I think it was a good humanizer at a young age.
Yeah. I get you. I don't, yeah, just bring back memories of the checkout chick days. I think most of us have
Yeah.
done that kind of thing. It just, you do just have a line of people coming through, and
Yeah.
everyone's got something going on in their own space, in their own world, and
Yeah.
you don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, Dad and I often talk about this, just with that kind of concept in mind, you don't know what else is going on, but I always say you need to do your best. Whatever that is, it
Mm.
varies on each day, but it's that showing up with kindness. Mum and Dad came to a presentation I did once, and one of the participants came up afterwards and said, "Your mother just made my day." I'm like, "Really? What did she
Mm.
do?" It's like she smiled at me.
Oh, how simple but powerful.
And that stuck with me because it's like it's just a little act of
Hmm.
just warmth and humanness, and
Hmm.
it can change somebody's life
For
because
sure.
we don't know. So I'm going to just flip the mindset completely. I want to
Hmm.
ask you what I call the curly question, which
Oh, I like the sound of this. Ask me whatever you want.
what's the first thing that you ever wanted to be?
So this is slightly strange, but really early on, 3 years old, I wrote in my coloring book thing from 3-year-old kinder that I wanted to be a pilot, which was weird because I didn't want to fly the plane.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of being above the world and being able to look down. But that's what when I was 3. As I grew up in the age of like those 2000 rom-coms. So I of course wanted to be a magazine writer,
Mm.
like everyone around me did, which is kind of weird now because I kind of do write my own. I call it column or Substack. So sometimes it's kind of funny that pipeline of when I started my work 11 years ago, that actually I think my blog might have been 12 years ago. I started blogging and it was kind of funny because it was that full circle moment of that idea of like, well, I did want to be a magazine writer when I was a kid.
Yeah. I actually see the pilot bit really strongly as well for you
Interesting.
in terms of it wasn't about flying the plane, it was about stepping out and looking.
Yeah. And I'm someone that needs to step back to have the perspective. It's why I do a lot of reflection in my life. And even like at dance class, I have to be at the back of the room. We change lines, unfortunately. But to be able to take in information, I need to be further back. And I think there was something in that about that because I liked the idea. I just sort of wanted to be like above and just sort of see what was going on a little bit more. I didn't really want to
Yeah.
fly the plane. That's the weird part.
Yeah, but it was, I think about that perspective, and
Mm.
what I always see in you is just bringing that beautiful warmth and the openness to the person in front of you. And it's, I think that whole thing of just stepping back and accepting
Mm.
what you see rather than being immersed in it, if that makes sense.
Totally does. And thank you for saying that, Lucinda. That actually really means a lot.
You're welcome. I think you do beautiful work. So I want to thank you just for being so open about your experience of being neurodivergent and how music has been such an incredible part of your life, your work, and the way it supports you in as well as the other things that you do to support yourself. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for like creating this environment for me to come and share because I actually haven't talked about this in a public way before. And it's just been really special that you're the one that I got to do this with for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to go now, if it's okay with you, to your
Hmm.
program. So, a year of
Hmm.
coaching and reflection. And it really does support the deep reflection. So, would you like to just share a bit about that?
Yeah, so this has been something I didn't know what format it was going to take, but as a coach, working one-on-one with a coach is not exactly accessible for a lot of reasons because it's high touch, it's a big time commitment, it's a big energy commitment, financially as well. It can be a really big deal. And I've always, like, for a long time, wanted to take part of what I do and deliver it in a way to people that was accessible. So this is where this was born from. I would have loved to have gotten it started many years ago, but it came to life last year. And the whole idea, I created it with the idea that even though you can come month to month, the idea is that like hopefully people will come for 1 year and get the full experience to be guided through. And mostly at the moment, it's been reflection questions because that's what people seem to like the most. And what I like about it is I'm sort of building out an archive and a body of work. So then when people come into it and perhaps they're wanting some questions in a particular area, they can go to the archive and like find, oh, there was those questions on the one I'm putting together right now is some questions to support you to take action towards your goals and dreams. So that would be one that when you're in that mode, you can go to. Or perhaps you're in a mode of like wanting to step back a bit and there's going to be questions that are more supportive to that kind of time. So it was this idea of like just getting that gentle guidance and support in a way that you don't have to show up for in any way. You can engage with it at any time you like. You can follow along live as I deliver it. You can just use the archive based on what you're needing. And I like the idea that it's sort of like a choose your own adventure style coaching support. It's been really fun to bring it to life. And I like sitting at home writing my Substack. I'm like, how can this be my job? Because I really love doing it. I've always loved writing. So it's kind of been fun to blend the writing with the coaching and deliver this experience on Substack.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience, that's for sure.
I'm so glad
Mm.
to hear you say that.
Yay. We've got the link down below as well, so in the description for people, so do please check it out.
So it's actually kind of interesting just to see how, like, it's going to have different seasons because it's actually guided based on my own life. So I'm actually now in an action taking season. So the questions are going to be based on what I'm asking myself and what I'm exploring in my own life. And that's changed throughout the time as well. So it's like you're kind of on the journey behind the scenes with me. I share my own reflections as you kind of go through the journey too.
Beautiful. It's so, so powerful. I wanted to ask you too,
Mhm.
what is something you would say to someone who feels different right now?
I guess like it seems like a bit on theme, but I would just say like you're enough the way you are. And you don't have to be you don't have to be different in any other way, if that makes sense.
It does, it does. That's beautiful. Thank you. It's nice. I think because it's simple, it sounds simple, but
Mm,
just to sit with the fact that you're okay
yeah.
and to feel that as opposed to thinking there's something wrong with you or you're broken, which I think is what a lot of people get told.
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely. And it's okay to be who you are, whoever that is.
beautiful. Ah, I love that.
Mhm.
Chloe, thank you so much for being here and just sharing so beautifully with us and inspiring me and I'm sure everybody else who's listening as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me listened. I've loved chatting with you today.
Hi, you are welcome. And everybody, thank you for joining Chloe Wigan and myself on The Outsider Within. Join me next time as I share a song that I use to shift my emotions. May you continue to own what supports you even when it looks different. If this conversation resonated with you, then you're very welcome to like, subscribe, or explore more below. And if your effort has ever gone unseen, you may remember that trying counts, even when others don't fully see it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.